Hasan Piker has been called a terrorist,
Now, the new face of the left, I keep doing my best to make this guy the face of the left because, you know, he's a terrorist.
a champagne socialist,
Hilarity surrounding champagne socialist Hasan.
a dog shocker,
Mr. Dog Shocker is wondering,
a hero and an enemy of democracy. It doesn't matter where you turn. Everybody has their own thoughts on him. On some sides of the internet, he's a hero, a progressive ideologue, and a champion of diversity who helps progressive candidates like Zoran Mamdani, who works right over there, get elected.
To me, I see him as like a good guiding light of progressivism and like trying to get better candidates rather than just your typical establishment Democrats.
But to others, he represents the downfall of America, an anti-Zionist chauvinist who would rather show off rather than help people.
If you spend some time with Hasan, that like, yeah, he has those like edges to him, but he really means what he says.
But who really is Hasan Piker? I've been a digital culture journalist for the past decade, and other than an interview that I did with him a few years ago and some articles over the years, I never really watched his content. I really only understood him through the context of these clips.
You support terrorism, question mark? No, I don't. I don't support the state of Israel, and I don't support the state of the United States of America.
So I decided to reach out to the people who know him the most, his fans, the viewers who spend dozens of hours a week watching him on Twitch talk about politics, culture, and the news. What I learned is Hasan Piker is a complicated individual who can't really be captured in those viral moments and clips. Hasan can be a bit brash. His bravado can kind of get in the way of his message.
And boy, can that message be difficult for a moderate or someone that disagrees with Hasan.
But at the end of the day, people tend to love him. So welcome to my channel. This is Stephen A. Sarch Talks.
I trust Stephen to not fall for shit like that.
When I released my Asmongold video, which you should totally watch, Hasan watched it and shared his thoughts on the subject.
Which creator's fan should I look into next? Like, I feel like if he did something like this in my community, I suspect that the outcome would be very different. And I know that because journalists have profiled my fans.
So I decided, sure, that would be a great idea to figure out what his fans think about Hasan. I posted a tweet, and Hasan posted that tweet on his stream.
If you speak to his, oh yeah, Stephen Azark, who did the Asmongold video, he saw my response to it. He was on honeymoon. Flex, by the way. He said, while I was on honeymoon, Hasan the Hun reacted to my Asmongold video and theorized that if I spoke to his fans, the outcome would be very different. While I'm working on my reaction, I wanted to reach out to Hasan Piker fans and ask, why do you like Hasan? How many hours a week do you spend watching him? What do you think people misunderstand about him?
So I got a flood of information. So over 300 people responded to me on Twitter, email, Discord, and someone even found my Reddit. From those 300, I interviewed 15.
And some of their stories were fascinating. Adria is a mom who wants to fight back against the defamation Hasan receives, posting live clips taken directly from his live streams.
I'm a mom, and a lot of people are shocked that I'm like a mom and I do what I do. Like on Twitter, like a lot of people are like, how do you do what you do? And it's a lot easier to do what you do when your needs are met here in Canada.
Ben is a former Mormon and H3 fan, so he's escaped 2 cults. He's the only liberal in his Western mountain community and is absolutely willing to push back on his neighbors.
I grew up very Mormon, come from a very Mormon household. I was raised very strict, where I think that also made me want to, go the opposite way. And so when I was supposed to go on a mission is kind of when I just figured out like, I don't know if I believe so much in the Mormon church anymore and don't want to go on a mission. And, I became kind of a black sheep, if you will.
Yuval grew up in Israel and served in the IDF, where he listened in on Hezbollah communications. But after spending some time traveling the world and becoming more radically left, he denounced his former country.
I don't think people are bad or good. I think everyone's a little selfish and people can do bad things or good things. I think if you serve in the IDF, you're doing a bad thing. I think if you grow out of it and you look back, when I was a kid, I didn't have the political knowledge and understanding, right? To really view it that way. And I want to be grateful toward myself.
Eric grew up with Rush Limbaugh in his ear and started going down the gamer right-wing rabbit hole, but managed to pull himself out before he was too far gone.
What really hit it for me is I was watching Hasan and then clips of Asmongold at that point. And I started seeing things kind of go on a turn for the worse with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. It just turned into a giant content machine. While I was watching Hasan more and more, and especially like caring about that kind of thing and the politics that underlied with Hasan's content, I was like, what is Asman doing? He's like, it feels like there's a huge disconnect there, and then it became more obvious that it was just, in my opinion, a grift.
Anna is an immigration lawyer who is seeing firsthand what ICE and this administration's immigration policy is doing to those seeking refuge.
I'm friends with a lot of the chatters in the community that have been long-term communities. And I had one chatter message me the other day, and he was just like, oh, everything sucks, you know, nobody's doing anything. And, you know, I just had to remind him that we have to have revolutionary optimism. And for myself, to keep my mental sanity, I have to be delusional. I have to think that things are going to get better, because especially, you know, immigration, I could tell you story, you know, we could have like 3-hour conversations about how cruel this administration is, right?
And I wanted to make sure I wasn't just getting Hasan's traditional audience.
When he does his census, a lot of them are workers that like have full-time jobs, that like they're an older demographic. A lot of them just watch for news.
Hasan's audience is mainly white, male, millennial, and makes between 50 to 100K. What I found is that the average Hasan viewer either watches him live on his stream.
I try to watch Hasan live, but I work, I stream 8 hours, you know, he does this 8 hours a day. I prefer watching his YouTube.
Or spends their time watching his VODs on YouTube. Some are democratic socialists.
You know, being a democratic socialist, that's what I like to call myself. There aren't a lot of communities where you feel like you really can belong and your opinion, you know, that people share the same opinion as you.
And a lot of them just used Hasan to replace the traditional media coverage they were already watching.
I used to love mainstream media. Until I realized how fucked up, and how skewed everything was.
Unlike a lot of influencers who tend to spread doomerism when it comes to their content, Hasan is more upbeat, he's more hopeful, and his viewers reflect that.
It's not a thing of, hey, socialism is when no money and no phone or no anything really, no consumerism. If this is the system that we live in, then we have to play the part and slowly hope that we can change it for the better.
But I also wanted weirdos.
And this guy says, if you speak to Hasan fans, you will be speaking to absolute lunatics who will threaten to rape and kill you over a minor difference of opinion. That's the difference between the two audiences. Nobody has threatened me with any of those yet.
I desperately wanted to get people who weren't the most normal human beings. I wanted those that were outlandish. People that could kind of match the energy of my Asmongold people. But I just couldn't find any. I looked through hundreds of messages, and they were all fairly normal people with jobs and hobbies and lives. But mostly, they were just regular folk.
I don't think that we're as toxic as many people may claim we are. Really, we just want to give people health care. We also would like health care and ensuring that material needs can be met without breaking people's wallets and making sure that everyone has a roof over their heads.
And I've actually come up with a list of reasons why people like Hasan. First off, he's hot.
Hot. He's hot. He's very hot.
Everyone I interviewed mentioned Hasan was hot and attractive.
Hasan is young, attractive.
People always make jokes saying people be drawn in by his looks and then they'll stay for his takes.
He's smart, he's intelligent, he's well-spoken, he's attractive.
So my wife likes him because he's attractive.
They also agreed with a lot of the things he says.
He aligns with me in a lot of different things, but he does have a lot of influence and his word does carry a lot of weight with me. And, when it comes to politics, we agree with 99% of everything, He's also accessible. People can just write chat messages and get directly to him. You can't do that with Rachel Maddow.
I think that's number one, is accessibility. You can pop up on a stream. I have his stream up right now, You can type in chat and maybe get a response.
He's also consistently live every single day. It doesn't matter where you are, you can tune in and watch him. And if you don't catch him live, there's still hundreds of hours of VODs that you can do to kind of get what he's saying.
I've always been on Twitch, but never watching political streams. I started watching him and it just became like a daily try to watch him. And then it became I'm gonna watch his VODs at twice the speed. I try to watch all of the VODs, especially while I'm working.
So in order to know Hasan, we kind of have to start at the beginning. Hasan was born in 1991 in New Jersey, but went back to Turkey when he was very young to live a more affluent lifestyle with his parents. You've seen the horse picture that my last Asmongold viewer absolutely loved.
The first thing that really got me hooked with watching more of him is he was born in Jersey, but he grew up in Turkey. I think for me, I'm someone who loves to understand others.
When he was in college, he said that his family started to lose their wealth.
I said I was broke because my parents, my dad, went broke by the time I got to college.
And went back to New Jersey to attend college, where he went to Rutgers and got a degree in political science and communications. While in his last year of college, he managed to get the Nepo Baby boost, sorry Pirate Software, and got a job working at his Uncle Chank's internet political show, The Young Turks. There, he sort of floundered around for a bit, coming up with his identity. There are a bunch of clips from that era of him being a super bro that have not aged well in the slightest, and he has mostly denounced.
Those were satire, and that literally was like 10 years ago.
But are still used by people online to paint him as, you know, the alpha bro Chad that they want him to be.
That shit is not even archived. That shit was like deleted. And some fucking Nazis found it like a while ago to try and cancel me.
He manages to nail down a format that works for him and starts posting on Facebook under the breakdown.
I was a member of TYT because I didn't watch it live. I would go back and watch the VOD. And Hasan, I mean, he showed up and like as a presenter sometimes. I didn't like him then. It kind of started clicking whenever the breakdown videos started to come out. That's when I was like, oh, I like what this guy's saying. It's very provocative.
There, he creates the prototype for the content that we all kind of know today. He's brash, he's politically centered, and he's conventionally attractive.
I'm just gonna do a year in review of my new favorite woke prince, Ben Shapiro's year in review.
The people who started watching him the earliest that I spoke to were watching him during this Young Turks era.
I first came across Hasan on Facebook, of all places. I just remember his videos popping up on my feed where he was doing the breakdown on TYT. And so he was touching on a lot of issues, obviously the police brutality. There was a lot of stuff around Israel-Palestine that at that point in time, no one was really talking about.
So the views just start pouring in. But on Facebook, you kind of hit a wall pretty easily because the audience is just boomers and my wife for some reason.
The only person I know outside Hasan community that watches Hasan is my mom. But my mom, because she follows him on Facebook. So she thinks that Hasan is a Facebook influencer, and she only watches Hasan clips on Facebook.
So in 2018, he decides to make the move over from Facebook to Twitch to find a younger audience, according to an interview he did with Kotaku.
But I was working at Twitch on the partnerships team. Hasan had joined the platform pretty sort of like, you know, recently after his departure from TYT or however that had happened, that I remember talking to somebody who was managing that like relationship between the creator and our partner manager and being like, yeah, you should really like help them figure this out, help this Hasan person figure this out, because I think this could be really big. Like clearly there's like a path forward for somebody not just doing games coverage.
Before Hasan showed up, Twitch was an entirely different platform. IRL had just been introduced a couple years earlier, but it was still mainly about the gaming. Viewers claimed that they bled purple. They would talk in Twitch emotes like Kappa and Poggers, and they would one day dream of reaching partner and getting that exclusive Twitch purple hoodie that I'm not sure they even make anymore.
He really like pioneered this idea of covering the news. He started with like trying to cover politics through gaming, Fortnite and all of those things. And it was like trying to make, that's what everyone was doing at the time, which was like, how do we get to Twitch and how do we activate gamers and do this? Obviously, I don't believe it was that cynical from his perspective.
And his content is pretty much what he does now, except he used to play video games. He talks about politics, culture, internet gossip, whatever he can kind of do to fill the 8-hour gap he needs to speak during the day.
He's done a lot of things that I think are challenging the assumptions of like what a Twitch archetype is, pushing those boundaries, and this is more recently, but like bringing in other lines of culture, other spaces. Obviously, in the beginning, it was just like, you can talk to the Twitch audience as if though they aren't just a bunch of gamers. It is very productive to be of the culture, to be a gamer, to be somebody who, is these things, rather than just what I would say, like, your Hillary Clinton Pokemon go to the polls. It's like, you're not just pandering.
In 2020, Hasan broke the internet when he streamed Among Us with AOC and Ilhan Omar. I was working at Newsweek at the time, and everyone around me in the newsroom saw this as truly groundbreaking political content, when all I saw was a group of strangers trying to kill each other in a virtual spaceship. But that moment cemented the future of political discourse that we're currently dealing with today. Before 2020, a politician appearing on a live stream or a podcast was rare. Mark Maron would get Obama, and that was pretty much it. But after that live stream, politicians realized that they had an entirely untapped audience that they could reach, and they could go on their podcasts and go on their live streams and start talking with whoever the hell we want. There's no way Stephen Miller's wife would have a podcast if it wasn't for that Among Us live stream.
So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel...
From there, Hasan's popularity exploded, and he was no longer just a Twitch streamer. He was a voice for a generation.
We do need someone who has motion, a loud voice, who doesn't give a fuck, to continue pushing like the message that, shit is fucked up, and like we need to be more aware of what is going on and who to be mad at.
Hasan outwardly denies being a terrorist, and quite frankly, it bothers him when people call him that word.
I wish they stopped calling me a terrorist. That's what I wish. I wish they stopped calling me a radical. None of these people are radical. They just want healthcare. They want to end American militarism.
And he's being targeted by traditional media and those opposite to him on the political spectrum.
The attacks like a couple years ago, like starting 2020, right? They were mostly from like YouTubers and like drama slop tubers who were just like looking for drama. He was an easy target and they would just use anything to attack him. And now it's evolved into literally Fox News, congressional members attacking him. Richie Torres was one of the first ones. And then I forget who the other two are that did the bill saying, we need to condemn Hasan and Candace Owens. It's actually wild because, he's a Twitch streamer, right? Like, why are we putting so much attention on a Twitch streamer?
But unfortunately, it's not just those on the other aisle that are disagreeing with him. It's also Democrats who are labeling him as an extremist.
Democrats are panicking. Liberals are panicking. And even some conservatives are panicking. And the reason why is that, he doesn't follow the filter of the Democratic Party. He's not paid by Congress or via the Israeli Ministry of Affairs or Foreign Affairs to do propaganda. He is also very attractive.
People started to really care about the things he did and hyper-focused on all the little clips that started to go. Clips of him that look like he's shocking his dog.
Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
And saying that America deserved 9/11.
America deserved 9/11.
Get captured out of context and spread across social media through clippers. I don't know if I want to rant about America deserved 9/11 right now.
I remember when the whole America deserved 9/11 thing, a lot of people were like, whoa. I'm like, the way he rationalized it, it's like decades upon decades of the US government interfering in the Middle East. You think we were not going to get attacked? People did not deserve to die, obviously, but it's like America almost getting a taste of its own medicine and purposely even ignoring the warning signs that an attack by plane was going to happen.
Because clipping is big business. If you can get a viral clip to go viral on different platforms, you can make real money off of it. And Hasan is a really easy way to do that.
There is a clipping industrial complex when it comes to people like Hasan. Because it gets so tiring seeing no, there's context to this. Stop. A 5-second clip is not the whole story.
But there are viewers of Hasan's who are actually trying to fight back against the clipping.
It is crazy. There are so many clipping accounts. It is crazy. My thing is I clip in real time. That's kind of my thing. I just post things in real time before people can get to it and make it into something really bad.
When he went to China and became super excited over their little red book, York, and he went to Cuba to deliver aid. These all became massive internet viral moments that had hundreds of thousands of clips being pushed online.
I want to say how I feel when I see those things. I'm like, that's what you were thinking about? Like, it flies right through my head. It's like, okay, he could have like a 50,000 Rolex. I mean, it'd be like, damn, 50,000 for a Rolex, that's kind of crazy. But like, okay, what about going to Cuba in a 50,000 Rolex, which that didn't happen. I'm just giving an example. The point is Cuba. Like, the subject matter is there. Hasan is not the subject matter when he goes to Cuba. I feel like I've garnered some sort of like conviction for the things that actually matter and the things that Hasan is highlighting too, like Cuba. So when he goes to Cuba in, I don't know, combined $5,000 worth of outfit, Cuba's dying.
And the government started to pay attention. He's currently banned in the UK. He has a bill in Congress calling him an anti-Semite. And his trip to Cuba is currently under investigation.
It is literally the Streisand effect. You guys propped him up. You guys keep talking about him, feeding it. Like, people have been subscribing to him again, because I think his subscriber count really, really went down, I think 2023, 2024 for reasons. But like, mainstream media and all of his haters have been propping him up to be this big thing. And people have been checking him out and then subscribing.
All of that attention just raised his profile. And he started giving his support to progressive candidates like...
Brad Lander, of course, was one of the winners. Daria Liza was one of the winners. Claire Valdez.
As you guys know, I'm trying to get socialists elected.
Was one of the winners. Basically, it was a clean sweep for the Zoran candidates.
Hasan's optimism about the world and the fact that he actually mobilizes his audience to do something about it is incredibly appealing.
I think he deserves some glaze as well, because it feels like everyone's attacking him, and I feel like, nah, he's kind of awesome, and he's really smart, and he says good things, and I support him. And like, there's points where he will say things that I disagree with, and I'm not sure that we have the same idea of how society should run. But at the same time, I feel like there's this space on the left where we can have a conversation about our opinions about things, and we can say this thing and this, and it all comes from this place of we care about this and we want things to be better. And in that context, if I disagree with someone, we will reach the conclusion that's best for everyone because we both want the same thing.
There's a lot that I agree with when it comes to Hasan. I'm anti-billionaire. I'm pro-government regulation. I am anti-Zionist. Free Palestine. And I believe that the world should be a better place.
From my perspective, Zionism isn't just bad in the genocidal nature of it. I think it also screws us up. I think it's bad for us. I've seen how it fucks the brains of people. I've seen how the country has gone more and more to the right. I've seen how it deletes cultures, our own Jewish cultures of different, like I've only when I was like in my 20s, I learned like songs of different type of groups. So Zionism kind of flattens everything. When they ask you what's the most Jewish thing to you, they're not actually asking about Jewish culture, they're erasing it. And so I see that, for me, that's like, I feel like Israel is under, I like to call it a miasma. I like that word because it's like this cloud of toxic ideas that like, it's in the way people talk, and it's something that like, it's so pervasive. And he sees that and talks to that nature. And so to me, Zionism is anti-Semitic in its core.
Personally, I don't really want to watch Hasan. He's not really my vibe. I don't really love political punditry, except when I used to watch The Daily Show back when I was in middle school. And I want to make it clear that it's not just Hasan's haters that have disagreements with Hasan. Even his own viewers have things that they don't like about him. Some of the people I spoke with really dislike the new suits that he keeps wearing.
I feel like Hasan has grown in style, really takes himself seriously. He's starting to wear the suits now, and I'm like, okay, you can stop that now.
Like, I know he's been wearing suits a lot lately to, like, I guess, woo the Fox News people or whatever.
That he is incredibly bro-y.
There's a bunch of different things that people can misunderstand with him. So people who are too serious will see him as like a dumb jock or whatever. Like, even sometimes I'll show, because my family is socialist, so they have the same viewpoints as me, but they don't really like watching him because they find him a little bit too abrasive sometimes, which he is. Like,
that he keeps fighting with chat no matter what.
He does get angry.
Why is every
baboon in my chat, so quick to try to overcorrect, thinking that you're gonna come across as smart. Like, most people understand exactly what I'm saying. Why are people so stupid? Like, fuck.
Which, I mean, I think it just comes with the territory. Like, if you're just talking to a crowd of people at all times that are talking back to you, I think it can cause some sort of negativity to come out every now and then.
Since the community is very white, I think that sometimes Black and brown voices are not taken as seriously. I know, like, this year, I think he's really tried to have a diverse group of politicians, but he can't help that the community itself is sometimes very aggressive. And sometimes I have felt that, like, my opinion is being ostracized because, you know, it's not the majority opinion in that chat.
He does handle the topic of Black issues, I guess, better than other people or his counterparts would, who aren't Black, kind of thing. He handles them in the way that he knows how to handle them as a white guy. I do think because he's afraid of being clipped out of context, because of what he's been accused of before, that he just lets the community like do whatever, because he's trying to rattle off like a bunch of like talking points that like we've all heard before. And then because he's trying to get through it, people are in the chat are just saying a bunch of crazy shit.
Your statement itself is not incorrect. Okay? The deployment in this situation against me, as though I am at odds with what you're saying, is incorrect. Chat is doing the thing where they agree with my overall analysis, but come at it as though they're in disagreement. There is no disagreement. And I can't tell if people just have some kind of I mean, tensions are high. So I guess that's probably part of the reason.
But most of all, he's too hyperbolic with his statements.
Oh, well, you know, I said America deserved 9/11 and it was misconstrued. You know, I do have sometimes, I use hyperbolic language and it gets taken out of context or whatever.
I have friends who are same political spectrum as I am, and they see him as an extreme, like too extreme for their taste. And it's mainly just because of the clips and the hyperbolic statements. I think it's misunderstood. That doesn't make him look good. He's very provocative in what he says.
But the ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon.
That was a bad phrasing, yeah. Like, does he think that Hasidic Jews are inbred because he's an anti-Semitic? No, because anti-Semitic people, they don't just say one thing. If he was a Nazi, he would say other stuff. It will reflect in other ways.
He makes a grand, over-the-top joke or statement that in context seems okay, but when you look at it in a 30-second clip, it's absolutely awful.
Kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
It allows those clippers to kind of run free and go wild. And his viewers are like, why are you saying these things? You're just encouraging this behavior to grow.
I don't know the context of these particular statements, but here's a quote from you about landlords who don't want to rent out their properties. You said, kill them, murder them, let the streets soak in their red capitalist blood. Doesn't that make you part of the problem with violent discourse?
This was in a conversation that I was having with a landlord friend of mine, and it's of course hyperbolic, and it's not meant to be sincere. This is not sincere advocacy. It's not a real policy that I would ever advocate for, and that's precisely the reason why when Republicans were desperately looking for any sort of incisive language that they could present, they went back to a very obvious instance of LARPing.
But again, Hasan is a streamer. His job is to go live for 8 hours a day. He has to keep talking. He just has to keep saying things because he has to keep his viewers entertained. He has to keep the algorithms entertained.
His language is hyperbolic, but I for one has never, heard a call of actually, causing harm or violence or anything like that to get there. He's never done that.
I'm sick and tired of it. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the fuck is this shit, man?
you know, so at least not to how I've interpreted it.
But even with all their criticisms, overall, they still prefer it to mainstream media, which has sort of gone on a long death march over the past decades. Political punditry started when Rush Limbaugh crawled out of the primordial ooze of AM radio and evolved with Rachel Maddow with the millennials, reaching its final form with Hasan Piker. People love to get their information from somewhere else and have it filtered through someone else's ideology. I used to love watching Jon Stewart on The Daily Show shit on Bush and all the horrible stuff of that era.
I don't believe in wearing a helmet unless I have crashed and am flying towards the curb noggin first.
I find too much political content brain rotting. Look what happened to Asmongold.
It's not commentary, it's the truth. That's why you support organizations that want to genocide Jews and that are literally designated terrorist organizations. I mean, this isn't commentary. People can find this on your Wikipedia, probably.
Now, Hasan isn't for me, but it's clear he's important to a lot of people. His political actions, bro-y attitude, and overall optimistic view on the world has given people hope, and I can't knock that. It's clear his viewers are looking for something to help them change, and Hasan is giving them that opportunity.
I've improved myself in my looks, my physicality. I've tried to take care of myself and my hair and going to the gym when I can, or try to work on those muscles, not physical muscles, but like those habits. I think that's an important part of it. Because if we take care of ourselves, we can take care of the people around us.
And in this depressive era, and there's nothing else that gives you hope, if you have to get it from a 6'2" himbo, so be it. And now I'm gonna go do something that I think a lot of Hasan fans would appreciate, and I'm gonna go work out.
Everyone, I know you're watching this on Hasan's stream. When you get the chance, watch it on the actual stream too. And give him a like.